Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the show. I want you to take a look at Keith. You know, Keith is wearing tonight a bandage. He's trying so hard to identify with Donald Trump. But he didn't realize that Trump had the bandage on his ear.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay, Keith. You know, I know that President Trump appreciates you trying to, show sort of a team spirit there. Very nice of you. Actually, this is the deal. Keith had a procedure with a dermatologist this week. Let this be a reminder to all of our audience, both here in the theater and at home. Get your skin checked. The Olympic Games are underway in Paris, and it's usually a time to celebrate young amateur athletes as they give their native nations and the world a unifying appreciation for exceptional skill at events that most of us could not dream of doing. But leave it to the French to almost destroy the power of the Games with a depraved and demon-inspired sacrilegious tribute to stupidity. Seriously. They produced a pageant that featured a mockery of the Last Supper, which they later claimed was really a tribute to Greek gods. But it was all about imagery of homosexuality and transgenderism, and some of the perverted messaging was more appropriate for an adult theater than a family-friendly Olympic ceremony. After the overwhelming backlash, the organizers pretended to apologize. They said that if anyone was offended, they sure were sorry. What a punk and pathetic non-apology. I mean, when you say, if anyone was offended, really? When you say that, the producers of this perverted pornography blame the audience and pretty much said that it was our fault that we thought parading mostly naked people, spray-painted and dressed in stages of undress, to fully extol a lack of decency was disgusting. It's our fault. Somehow we should have seen this filth as a tribute to diversity. I think the only thing worse than shoving Satan in our faces is blaming the audience for not lapping it up like dogs going after a bowl of beef and meat gravy. And the media attempt to paint VP candidate J.D. Vance as weird. That was about as weird as things can get. Hey, folks, the Democrats and the media colluded to push that very word, weird, 150 times in one day. That was weird. J.D. Vance grew up in abject poverty, joined the Marines, served in Iraq, put himself through college and Yale Law School, faithfully married with small children, and goes to church every Sunday. And the Democrats think that is weird, and that the Olympic ceremony was great. Jill Biden praised the Olympic performance. You know what? I think Dr. Jill needs a doctor. And I personally think it's weird that the party and people on the left still believe that it is normal for a biological male pretending to be a woman to compete against a real woman, even in sports like boxing, where a he pretending to be a she pummeled a real she. And this nonsense from the same party and people who say they want a woman president, but then say they don't really know what a woman is, because you got to be a biologist to know that. That, my friend, that is weird. But back to the attempt to paint J.D. Vance as weird. I think it's weird to think that wide open borders are okay and that a record $35 trillion debt is okay. I think it's weird to sympathize with the cold-blooded butchers of Hamas and squeeze Israel to accept the nutty and utterly irrational two-state solution that has been idiotically pushed by both Republican and Democrat administrations. Even considering such nonsense in light of the horrific slaughter of civilian Jews last October 7th, it's rewarding terrorism and the crimes of Hamas. Who could possibly support such rubbish? Kamala Harris does. Oh, and by the way, she showed contempt for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by disappearing when he spoke to Congress and then showing up to lecture him on how to conduct the war that he's got to fight to save his people. I'm beginning to think that when the media or a prominent Democrat tells me something, I should instinctively believe the exact opposite. Rick Perry is a former fellow governor and a fellow candidate for president. But that's not all. He most recently served at the U.S. Department of Energy as Secretary of Energy. I want you to welcome my friend, former Texas Governor Rick Perry. And they like you here.
Oh, man.
They just don't know you as well as I do. I think that's it.
The Tennessee folks, we have a lot of fun with Tennessee, and I'm honest. I tell them, I said, look, I get it. If it hadn't been for Tennessee, there wouldn't be no Texas, right? Davy Crockett, Sam Houston, you go through the list of, and that's true. And so we're pretty good partners. Until it comes to baseball, and then, my beloved Texas Aggies and the University of Tennessee, we were playing for the national championship, and we came up a little short this time.
That's all right.
Just a touch.
As Energy Secretary, you took the policies of Donald Trump. You guys made America energy independent for the first time in 75 years. We were actually exporting energy instead of importing it, and it was transformational to this country.
One of the interesting things that people always ask me is, what's it like working for Donald Trump? And one of the smartest men I ever was around in my life. And when I went in to talk to him in 2016, I guess, in November 2016, and we had a pretty short conversation. It didn't last that long. And he leaned across the table and he said, Perry, I want you to go do for America Energy what you did for Texas. And I was like, okay, I got it. You want me to go sell America's energy around the world? And I mean, he gets it so quickly. And it's kind of like, here's what I want you to do. And then he goes on and takes on another, project, whatever he's working on.
Don't you think
he totally gets it?
He's a big picture guy. He doesn't micromanage everybody around him. I mean, I don't think he probably told you how many cubic feet of LNG to ship out to Europe.
Yeah, listen, I mean, he truly understood that if you will free the energy industry from overtaxation, overregulation, over litigation, that you're going to explode. And that's exactly what we did. So we got an administration now that's put a pause on LNG,
liquefied natural
gas, that is going to our allies around the world, creating massive amounts of jobs in Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, in those states where fossil fuels are still really important to the economic growth. And President Trump understood that, and that's what people can expect. We will go back to the policies of putting people to work, of giving folks a real incentive to go help our allies around the world. I mean, the LNG pause that's on now under the Biden administration, it's hurting two groups. It's hurting American workers, and it's hurting our allies around the world. Wherever those allies might be that would be getting that clean burning American natural gas, the Russians are coming right in behind, or the Iranians. That's who this helps. So, President Trump gets it. I mean, he totally understands the energy picture, and he sees a lot of different pictures very clearly. Whether it's energy side of things, whether it's the border, being a border governor back in the day, we saw this problem happening. I want to say like in 2012, 2013, and I met with President Obama. Matter of fact, I met him on the ramp at an airport in Dallas, and I won't say I lectured him, but I talked to him pretty straight about this border problem is out of control. Children were coming up literally on the backs of trains, Governor, and they're being abused, they're being sexually trafficked, and that was when we had the opportunity to tap the brakes, so to speak. And the Obama administration didn't, they didn't do anything to help. Trump came in, and we put policies into place and whether it was building a wall to be able to, particularly in the metropolitan areas and in those urban areas, as a barrier, and then using quick response teams, drones. We have the technology now, Mike, to be able to shut that border down. It's just we don't have the will in Washington, D.C.
What a shame.
My Governor Abbott's doing everything that he can in Texas, but it's not Texas' responsibility solely to protect the border.
He's acting like he's having to take on the federal government's job.
Well, he is.
I want you to stay put. We've got a lot more to talk about with former Energy Secretary and Governor Rick Perry, and he's triggered a couple of thoughts that I have. We're going to get right into that when we come back, so hang with us. Right now, Keith Bilbrey is going to tell all of you what else we have coming up in the show. Keith?
Well, still to come, actor, director, and author Nick Searcy discusses his new eye-opening documentary, Shedding Light, on January 6th. And you will not want to miss an incredible country performance by Jillian Cardarelli. You're watching Huckabee. MikeHuckabee.com and sign up for his free newsletter and follow @GovMikeHuckabee on X.
And we are back with former Energy Secretary and Texas Governor Rick Perry. You said something a moment ago that I want to just revisit, because you mentioned that when the Biden administration really put a hiatus on fracking and getting the LNG out of the ground and really putting a squeeze on our energy industry, it opened it up for Russia and Iran. What have we seen happen? When they got rich, Russia went into Ukraine, Iran funded Hezbollah, Hamas, and murdered a bunch of Jewish people in Israel. There's a connection.
There is not a vacuum out there that doesn't get filled.
Yeah.
And when that energy that's going to be used all around the world, when it comes and enriches places like Putin's Russia and the Anatolia's Iran, and who, whether it's in Yemen or whether it's the Houthis or whether it's in the Hezbollah north of Israel or Hamas over in Gaza, all of that is being funded with Iranian money. And I will suggest to you probably Russians as well. I mean, there's a cabal out there.
Yeah.
Russia, China, and Iran against the West. And everybody knows that. I mean, the idea that you sent literally billions of dollars to the Iranians right after Biden got into office.
Yeah.
I mean, holy mackerel. I mean, how treacherous is that for our allies and our friends? And best I can tell, the alternative to Biden, the Vice President, Kamala Harris, is even going to be farther to the left on this issue.
The new Green Deal is something she champions.
Holy mackerel.
How long, let's just say Trump gets reelected, how long after taking office would we start seeing prices for our energy, whether it's gasoline for our vehicles, our heating and cooling our homes, how long before we would see some relief that we haven't seen in the past 4 years?
Well, I think the relief starts pretty quick, but I've got a shorter period of time. It's how long until Donald Trump puts his signature on an executive order that frees up American energy to get back into the marketplace. And that'll be about 15 minutes after he sits down in the Oval Office as the 47th President of the United States. And that, I think, is to me, I mean, I don't want to get too political here, but I don't understand how anyone who really cares about America from an economic standpoint could support policies that are anti-American energy. This idea that somehow or another our energy industry is bad for the climate. American natural gas is the cleanest burning fuel that's out there. If you really cared about the environment, I think you would see all of these radical environmentalists talking about we need to be incentivizing small modular reactors, but you don't hear that.
Yeah.
All they say is we don't like fossil fuels bad. Oh, but China and Iran, y'all go ahead with your coal burning plants and all the stuff that you're doing out there. It just doesn't make any sense, Governor. There's got to be something deeper into their philosophy than what I see on the surface. And I don't want to get too conspiratorial here.
No, but you know what, and I think you've made the point. This isn't just about party politics, and it's not even about personalities. It is about policies. The policies is what we really vote on.
Yeah. And if you're a Pennsylvania union worker, you're a Pennsylvania union worker, if you're a Louisiana union worker, and we got great union men and women in Texas, and you know, listen, I hadn't always gotten along with the unions while I was governor. The Teamsters almost every time supported me because I was about creating jobs.
Yeah.
That's what Donald Trump's about. Donald Trump is about freeing America, freeing them from overtaxation, overregulation, over-litigation, having a skilled workforce, basically competition out there for our public school, and that's his story. And I love my country. I don't mind working with Democrats. I'm not going to change my philosophy. I'm not a governor anymore, so I don't have that. But when I was, we worked together, and I guarantee you, Donald Trump will work with the Democrats. If you'll come and sit down with us, he'll work with them because he's got a vision. He knows where he wants to take America. He knows what the future of America can look like. But at the basis of our country, if you don't get the energy industry side of it right, if you don't get the economics of industry, of the fossil fuel industry right, you're going to be in trouble.
That's why
everything is tied to that.
It's why I wanted you to come, and I hope you promise to come back and see me again sometime. Hey, if you want to keep up with Governor Rick Perry, head over to Huckabee.tv, click on his guest page. We have links to let you know more about what he's up to and why you ought to follow him. There's a lot more show on the way. Stay tuned.
Tonight, the entire Huckabee family grieves with Autumn Nealon in the tragic and heartbreaking loss of her family, GMA Hall of Fame members, the Nealons.
Samaritan's Purse has made it their mission to demonstrate Christ's love through their ministry. They invite all of us to have a part in it. Your financial support or your helping hand, well, it helps reach those who feel abandoned, unloved, and forgotten. Samaritan's Purse brings medicine, food, shelter, most importantly, the message of God's love all across our country and throughout the world to those people who have suffered devastating poverty and horrible disaster. I hope that you'll call Samaritan's Purse or visit their website today and join in the calling to help the needy in Jesus' name. Well, Denny Corby's family owned the only paper company in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So you would think that he'd grow up to work in an office, but instead his boyhood love of magic has made him a very popular comedy magician. He has appeared on Fox, NBC, Penn and Teller, Foolish, and at major corporate events. I want you to welcome the hilarious and amazing Denny Corby.
Wow. It is so good to be here. So great seeing all of you here. I have so much I want to do. We have such a short amount of time. So to get started, hello, Trey.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
I'm going to need your help. Do you have your cell phone on you?
Yeah, actually I do.
Okay, open up your calculator.
Okay.
And I need you to go to each band member. Each band member is going to have, going to type into your calculator 6, 7, 8, 9 digits. Then they're going to hit plus. You're going to go to the next band member. Same thing, going to keep doing it over and over. And then it's going to get to you. You're going to type in some numbers as well. You're going to hit equals. You're going to bring your phone over. Keep that number hidden. And then come over here. Now, band, as you think about these numbers, I want you to think about where we're at, who we're with, and why we're here. It'll make sense later. That being said, Governor, would you please join us? Everyone give Governor a big round of applause.
All right.
Your Eminence.
Indeed.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a wonderful experience to be here. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much work goes into putting something like this on. the amount of people, the time, the backstage people. There's
lot
like
of folks.
30, 40 people to put this whole
like
thing together.
60 or 70, actually. So
Wow.
A lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Way too many. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But
All right, we'll fire half of them tonight. Okay.
not on me.
No.
But no, so to me, when they were saying, hey, can you come on to do something fun? I thought instead of doing something about me or magic, we would do something about your people.
Okay.
So what I did is I came in really early and I took Polaroid pictures of most of the staff.
Okay.
So we have about 30, 40, 50 pictures of all different of your staff members here. Some very funny ones. We have Brett, they were calling him Jib. I thought he was I thought they were calling him like a jabroni. I thought it was like, oh, jabro, but it was just, he's a jib operator. Then I thought he spoke gibberish, but I thought that was a whole different thing.
He does.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So we have Brett there. Who else do we have? We have, you're doing the funny stuff with that. We have Bonnie, who's in logging, which I didn't even know what logging is, but she is definitely given that like blue steel look.
Yeah, totally.
Like that is quite the pose there. We have so many others. We have Trey. Oh, hey, he's right over here. Okay. We have Trey. Don't let me see that number. Keep it secret. We have Trey. Who else do we have? We have Paul in audio. Paul in audio. You'd think he'd be able to make Trey sound a little bit better, but
It doesn't happen like that.
maybe some auto tune, something like that, and who knows? Oh, funny, Paul. Yeah, you're making the noise over the thing. Very nice.
Yeah.
We have Mike, we have David, Robert, Darla, Tristan, Brad in lighting.
Yeah.
Brad used to be rad.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'll stop
Never mess with the lighting guy.
Yeah, I know, right? I learned that very quick now. But we're going to do something really fun with all the people here. Why don't you take some?
Okay.
And Trey, why don't you take some? Sure. And I know the people are all already mixed up a bit.
Yeah.
But mix them up more.
Okay.
Mix them up.
Shuffle them up.
Shuffle them up.
Shuffle them up.
However?
Yep.
Whatever we need to do.
And now, in a second, you guys are going to trade some people. So take out like maybe 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter. Just completely random.
Okay.
And you do the same thing.
Oh, yeah,
and
these guys
we're going to switch. And then as you do it, so here, we'll take these. You're going to take
three.
It doesn't matter. It could be random. But we're going to mix them face up and face down.
That's terrible.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I got rid of you.
But here, now before we do, why don't you mix the face up into the face down? So here, just like this. So you have face up, we're gonna take these, put them right in there, and you keep mixing those. These, we're gonna mix those up. Yep, and just keep mixing them up. Okay. Perfect. Wondrous. Wondrous.
Okay.
So we're gonna do one last.
You're not gonna make me spell anything, are you?
Why is that?
No, because they made me spell one time on this show, and it was embarrassing. I went to homeschool, man.
I went to public school in Scranton, so I mean, of all places. No, so we're gonna mix them up a little bit more.
Okay.
And we're gonna leave them just like this. Now, I have a prediction
Okay.
of what I thought might happen here today. So you guys could have taken more people, less people. You could have taken more or less. We mixed them face up and face down. They went all over the place.
Yeah.
I wrote something down. I was hanging out backstage for way too long. Got way too bored. I wrote some stuff down of what I thought would happen here today. So I wrote down 9 face down pictures. 9 face down pictures. Trey, would you just hold that just like this?
Okay.
So if we go through, bear with us. We're going to count through these photos of the people. So that's this would be face up. So that's face up. So we're going to go through. This is 1 face down photo. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That one's not.
Oh.
There. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm impressed.
It's impressive.
It's very
impressive.
It
is weird. Yeah. Let's take it one step further. It says next, 3 will be women. 3 will be women. So let's go through. We have Nathaniel, male.
Okay, with a beard like that. He's either in the circus or...
We have Rebecca, Miss Prompter Op, which very important job here, prompter.
Yes, it is.
Rebecca, she is 1 female.
Okay.
We have Ryan. We have an associate director. That is a male. Put him right there. We have Craig. He's a male. Ross. We have Tim. We have Frank. We have Allie. And we have Angie. So that is 3. 3 females.
There you go.
Yeah. 3 females. And we have one last part. This is all of the men will be wearing glasses. And if you look on the photos, all of the men will be wearing glasses.
No.
Frankie.
Don't applaud. No.
Frankie's the only one.
Glasses.
He's the only one.
Frankie.
Yeah.
Except for
Except
No way.
for
No
Frankie.
way. No way.
Now, that's bonkers. That's bonkers. But the weird part is, before this even started, I had you guys come up with a random number.
Okay.
And the number I said, think about where we're at, who we're with, and why we're here. Trey, what is that number? Can you show the camera?
Okay. 104,121,106.
That's the number that you guys all typed in random numbers, and then that's the number, 104,121,106. Now, if you notice, everyone in the pictures are all holding up numbers, random figures on their numbers. And that's
No.
And that's 104, 121, 106. That's a 1.
Oh.
So 4, 1.
No way.
1.
No.
106.
Oh, no.
That's a math.
That is crazy.
But it goes further, because I also wrote down before that 101, 104, 121, 106. But this is the reason why we're all here, because I said with the number, think about why we're here, who we're with, and what we're doing, because this number represents you and us here today, because this number is you, the governor. That's G-O-V-E-R-N-O-R. That's the reason why we're here. Trey, thank you so much.
Unbelievable.
Thank you.
Whoa. Okay. You know what? I know this. You're going to want to see more of the magic of Denny Corby. And here's how you can do it. You can book him for your venue or event. Follow him on social media. Just visit Huckabee.tv. There is even a video where he will teach you how to do a magic trick. Keith, I have no idea what we've just seen. It blows my mind. But why don't you try to do your magic and tell us who's going to appear next?
Well, I would make Trey disappear if I was going. Okay. Actor Nick Searcy is here to talk about his autobiography and new documentary looking into the events of January 6th. Keep it right here for more Huckabee.
I'll tell you, the magic never stops around here, but some of the best magic we have is actually the magic of our music, provided by the best band in all of the country, Trey Corley and the Music City Connection. Give him a hand. Well, Nick Searcy has appeared in dozens of great movies and TV shows like Castaway, Justified, and From the Earth to the Moon. He also directed a powerful film called Gosnell, America's Biggest Serial Killer, and the film Capital Punishment. He produced the new January 6 documentary called The War on Truth, and his new memoir about being an outspoken conservative in Hollywood is called Justify This, A Career Without Compromise. Please welcome back to the show one of our favorites, Nick Searcy. You know, you are a rare bird in that you are openly conservative in an industry where that's just not exactly the most popular thing to do.
Yeah, I don't really understand it myself. Maybe they just don't pay attention and they don't know who I am, or, somebody told me that, the left usually doesn't pay attention to the right. So maybe they just haven't heard my opinions.
Well, I don't know how they missed it, because you're pretty outspoken, Nick. I mean, and it's one of the things I've admired about you. You just say it like you feel it. And you actually believe in free speech and that you should be able to say what you genuinely believe.
Yeah, I think by the time I figured out that I should keep my mouth shut, it was too late and I'd already run it. So.
What is the deal? And we always are trying to figure this out. A good film comes out. It has a good plot. It's positive. It's all about maybe faith or maybe not faith, but it's a positive thing about America. And the box office loves it, and people go buy tickets. And Hollywood says, no, we don't want films like that. And they put stuff out that nobody wants to go see. What's wrong with that?
My theory is that they've kind of inoculated themselves from the box office, because with all the streaming services, now you're paying a monthly fee, you're getting everything, even the things that you don't want.
Yeah.
So now the way movies get made in Hollywood is like they're making them for each other. They're like making movies to say, look how woke I am and help me make my next woke film. So it's a problem that we're going to have to solve somehow.
You have done a documentary film about January 6th. We've been told that that was just an all-out, that everyone who was there were rioting and were violent. And I've talked to too many people who were there, and that's not the case. Like I've said, when people, if they attacked a police officer, if they did something that was genuinely vandalism or violent, look, I get it. They need to be charged, and that's fine. But Ashley Babbitt was an unarmed Air Force veteran who threatened no one and was shot by a person who never, ever even had to go through an investigation.
Yeah, and the January 6th committee that was supposed to investigate that day never mentioned Ashley Babbitt.
Never.
In their 700-page document, they never mentioned Ashley Babbitt or Roseanne Boylan or Kevin Greason or Benjamin Phillips, the 4 people who died that day, and all of them were victims of the police. What you see in the War on Truth that I don't think you can see anywhere else is that really the aggressors that day were not the protesters. The Capitol Police were the aggressors. In many instances, there are instigators there. Christopher Wray got up and lied in front of Congress and said that he didn't know that there were any FBI assets in the crowd. There were Antifa people in the crowd disguised as Trump supporters. We have footage of them changing clothes in the bushes. And what you see in the War on Truth is that the targets of this government, by and large, over and over again, are Christians, veterans, and people who carry around pocket constitutions in their to give out to children because they love this country. Those are the real enemies of this government. And the agenda of this government will not allow stories like Ashley Babbitt's to be told. They have to suppress that because it does not fit the agenda that they're pushing.
That is so disturbing because it's an affront to every American citizen who just wants the truth. As I say, you know, the people that vandalized statues last week when Benjamin Netanyahu was in Washington to speak, and they wrote pro-Hamas, and they burned an American flag that they took down that wasn't their flag, it was the government's flag, and they took it down and they burned it and raised a Hamas flag, and they were all let go.
Yeah.
January 6 people are still sitting in jail 3 years after this happened, and some of them without a trial.
And they did nothing like that. There was no vandalism on that level done by the people of January 6th. The War on Truth is continuing. That's another thing that really, the reason I made a sequel to Capital Punishment is that they're not done. They're continuing to arrest people, 5 or 6 a week right now. Matthew Graves, the district attorney in Washington, D.C., has said he's going to go after people that never went in the building now. He's going to start going after people who stood outside the building, just like I did. So
Before we
I'm waiting
get away,
for them to come and get me.
how do people see the film War on Truth?
The War on Truth, it's hard to find with a search. You have to go specifically to warontruthmovie.com, warontruthmovie.com, and salemnow.com. Those are the 2 places that you can see it for sure. Well,
I hope people will. And if you go to Huckabee.tv, we have a link to be able to get straight through to the film and also to Nick's wonderful memoir, Justify This. Also, as I said, the documentary, War on Truth, will also have a link at Huckabee.tv. Keith, why don't you tell us what else is coming up tonight?
Don't go away. Wilfred Reilly discusses his new book on breaking the lies told in liberal education. Then country artist Jillian Cardarelli performs right here on Huckabee. Go to Huckabee.tv and get your very own Made in the USA Huckabee mugs, t-shirts, and more.
Well, do you sometimes think that college professors have an agenda? Maybe an agenda to indoctrinate young minds toward the left? My next guest is debunking decades of academia's liberal lies with a brand new book. It's called Lies That My Liberal Teacher Told Me. Please welcome Professor Wilfred Reilly, author of Lies My Liberal Teacher Told Me. Professor, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me. I might be the most boring guest from what I've seen. I mean, you got magicians, famous actors. I'm a school teacher, but I'm glad to be here.
You know, I think what you're talking about, though, is so very important to all of us across the country because we see college campuses becoming really training grounds for people to be indoctrinated into left-wing ideology. Why is that? Well, who's behind it?
Well, the simple answer is that the people behind it are the people doing the indoctrination. I mean, if you look at the U.S. media or academia in America, it leans about 93% to the left and not to the right. And that's not speculation. I mean, there's a famous study, Pew, in 2004 that found that. So if almost everyone, 18% of social science professors identify as Marxists, and obviously as communists. And obviously among normal people, you don't meet a lot of communists. I mean, it's about half of 1%. So when you get that kind of imbalance, you get the results we've been seeing.
Yeah, you know, when I go into a Waffle House, which is as often as I can, I never were to be able to say, any communist in here? I'm pretty sure I'd get a big, weird look on the faces of the people in the crowd.
Well, someone might try to fight you if you go to a Waffle House at 1 a.m. and start asking where all the communists are.
That might be.
But no, that's exactly right. In normal society, very few people would identify as communists or Marxists or radical feminists or something like that. And in academia right now, and again, in the U.S. national media, we have this incredible imbalance where more people would say they are that than that they are conservatives. That was 7%. So that has a real impact on the ground on the things you're taught. Like the most assigned book in U.S. higher education is the Communist Manifesto.
The most assigned book, that one?
Yeah, I read it 6 times in college.
Wow. Well, the name of the book is Lies My Liberal Teacher. What are some of the lies that your liberal teacher told you that you want us to be prepared to see?
Well, maybe the biggest one is that slavery was something almost unique to the United States, or at most the West, or at very least it was worse here than anywhere else. Now, slavery was a great sin in the literal sense, but it was a human sin. Slave is one of the 20 oldest human words. If you go back to languages that were still made up of picture writing, Egyptian hieroglyphics and so on, which I talk about in the book. There was an Arabic slave trade, there was a Greek slave trade, Gladiator's a movie for a reason, there was a Roman slave trade, blah, blah, blah. What the West did that was unique when it came to this old evil was actually ending slavery. And that's a story that's almost never told now, to some extent, because it would glorify, say, white Americans or soldiers or something like that. But I mean, that's the first lie. This is something that was unique to us. Another lie was Native Americans were incredibly peaceful people who spent all day dancing. But a bunch of them, like the Red Scare was an irrational panic. We just went crazy for some reason, calling innocent, good liberals communists. That's not true. There were a ton of Russian spies in the United States. I break down how we know that in the book. We declassified our military records after the Cold War. The Ruskies did the same. So a lot of things like that.
So, you know, we don't hear that stuff. And it's obviously not being taught on college campuses. If there's a parent who says, I'm going to send my kid to college, how can they pick a college where they won't be indoctrinated?
Well, I mean, this is the blatant plug moment where I could just say, first, have them read my book, available.
I don't mind that. I hope they do read it. I really do.
But, I mean, in all honesty, when you are looking for a college for your children, I mean, you should look at what goes on there. Now, I will say, unlike a lot of people on the quote-unquote dissident right, I think people should go to college. You hear a lot of, young men should avoid this. No, I mean, the service is great if that's the path you want to take. That's what you're called to do. Trade school is great. But if you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, I'd prefer you go to university.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, especially a heart surgeon. I'd kind of like the guy to have at least pass through a few study courses, a first
not
aid.
Just be a shaman who studied independent. Yeah. No, I think that's correct. But obviously there are faith-based colleges. I mean, there are colleges with conservative leanings like Hillsdale. And also, I'm a free market guy. Like, there are a lot of universities, like the University of Austin, New College, which Chris Rufo is currently supervising, that are really not leaning toward the left or the right. The goal is just to let anyone who's at the head of their fields come in and teach. I'd look at those options. And I also will tell you, like, if your kid goes to Alabama or Penn State, like, most of the students aren't spending a football weekend protesting the war in Gaza. But just pick selectively, I guess. Avoid those schools that are known for extreme radicalism. And there certainly are some. Berkeley, major colleges.
I hope people will take it to heart. It's a great, great message for students, for parents, grandparents, and for the rest of America. It's called Lies My Liberal Teacher Told Me. It's available now. If you go to Huckabee.tv, click on Wilfred's page, you can pick up your own copy, and I highly recommend that you do. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider clicking the subscribe button below and the notification bell next to it so you don't miss any of our future videos when they go up online.